Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Doc from North America. It is TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. We've had a relatively peaceful weekend, lots of interesting stories, and we're just marching along here with the confusion as usual. You know, is there inflation to stay for a while? Is inflation going to go away for a while? All those things. I myself think we're just stuck like in a channel like this right here on the Swiss, as you can see. It just happened to play the higher side of the channel, but we're just going to be trapped in there because it's regulated by the central banks. Don't really see anything shifting too much, just oscillates back and forth, trying to make it look like the world is just normal. We're not in QE, allegedly. They don't even talk about QE. But anyway, that represents the fact that the dollar's been going down for 3 days. You can see that right there. And we're even playing with a daily sell now, right there, with the Swiss. You can see that against the dollar. Still in a weekly buy right there. You can see down at the bottom, right there. So really not much really happening when it comes to clarity, more than the fact that it is what it is. Looking over here on J4X, you can see same pressure, a couple red hinkies. See the white fast-moving line has dropped below the dashed. They just want us to understand that it's just a normal day. No worries, be happy. And so that's where we stand at the moment. All right. What else can we say about that? And that is that the dollar, there's all kinds of wild stories out there about the dollar. It's going to be devalued and, this, that, and the other thing. What it really comes down to, as much as we're in debt here in the States, the world is even in more debt and in more trouble. So we are the cleanest of the dirtiest shirts in the laundry. That's how they like to refer to it in Wall Street. Yep, we are the cleanest. As we take a quick sip of the water there. All right. From there, let's take a look at the euro. Looks like it's starting off as a quiet morning. Let's see. Let's put it up on J4X first. Right there. There it is, the euro. Doing the same as the Swiss, gaining against the dollar. We can see a green hinky, and you can see the white fast line moving past the dashed. Now, let's see. Let's put it up on here. Right there. The same situation. White line moving past the zero line. The weekly's still showing its pressures up. Both of them are. So in other words, this is just short-term money, maybe taking profits or, bouncing off the range. You can see right here, they bounced off the range that's been followed for over a year now. And, nothing, I guess I keep on hearing that song in my head, something about no worries, be happy. I mean, that's pretty much what they want us to believe. And if it wasn't for this enormous spending because of QE, I guess you could say there's positives and negatives. The positive for the socialists was to get the QE, not the QE, get the COVID to shut down the election so that they could, let's say, develop more votes than there are people and get away with it. And so with that comes enormous spending because they figure that they can do anything. But that is not working out as well as they would hope. And so they spent a lot last year to fight off the COVID. This year the COVID is pretty much dead. It's kind of stalled and not going anywhere. And they want to keep on pretending that the world is coming to an end, and it's not working very well. So they can't spend the money. Now, why do I even mention all this? Because spending that money is generating more dollars to chase fewer goods. And that's what we refer to as inflation. You have the Wehrmacht history thing in Germany between World War I and World War I B, or known as World War II. And you have people using wheelbarrows or big buckets carrying dollars to buy a loaf of bread. In other words, more money chasing after less goods. And so what we see now is because of the COVID shutdown and the delay in supply chains and so forth, less goods, more money being spent. And so if it wasn't for the inflation, they probably could pass one of their crazy socialist ideas. But they're really having a hard time at it because prices are jumping over here. We're seeing, fuel oil for automobiles has gone up almost double now. We went from like $1.50, $1.50 to over, some places $4. Some places they were in the twos, are now in the fours. So that alone, everybody gets in their vehicles. You know how America is. It's a big land, not a lot of concentrated people except for like on the West Coast or on the East Coast. And so there's a lot of vehicles being used, and everybody knows that the price has gone up. It's not like a surprise. And then you have other supply chain characteristics occurring, and it's driving inflation up, so people think the dollar is going to be devalued or something like that. But the QE creates a stability. That's what the QE is all about. It was designed to create this stability in 2008 when the government, the House of Representatives, the Democrats at the time, destroyed the housing market. When they destroyed the housing market and you had all those enormous bankruptcies and we lost some of the biggest and oldest pristine firms like a Merrill Lynch or Lloyd's of London, people just don't realize they're gone, because they still function by name, but they are owned by like Merrill Lynch is owned now by Bank of America, or / Lloyd's of London is controlled and owned by the Exchequer in London, that type of thing. And Deutsche Bank, all these pristine old names have turned into just wards of some benefactor. And because of all that, you get the confusion. Does QE work? Is QE doing anything? Does it help? Does it hurt? There's a lack of clarity because we don't have a media anymore that really talks about it. Our financial community doesn't talk about it. And so you got to wonder, when they come out with statements in the news talking about the devaluation of the dollar, it's a spin. You don't even trust them anymore. Nothing makes any sense financially what they say. So, here we are today. We see just the same old stuff. In this case here, we'll show it to you again. On the Chicago quant, where you see the euro just bouncing off of a range that we've been watching for months upon months upon months upon months upon months upon months. See, so it's just playing with that range for a long while, all the way back to last year. So then we go and look at the Swiss against the dollar. The same old thing. Just playing with the range that's played with it for months upon months upon months upon months upon months upon months. In this case here, you can see back in January they dipped underneath that range for a little while, and it could be literally anything. It could be an adjustment for the end of the year. It could have been the Chinese needing cash at the time for the end of the year, and they parked money there. Now the Chinese are not even bashful. As much as they're aggressive, they're buying treasury bonds again, and their amounts were going out like $15 billion a month. We're losing out of $1 trillion portfolio. Doesn't mean much, but now they're actually increasing again, because now I think they think that this is probably the only place to be, as much as they're trying to destroy this place to be. So it is a very strange financial world, hence why we follow it through quantitative nature, not the stories, not the fundamentals, because there are no real fundamentals anymore. It's all based off of quantitative and statistical analysis now. Maybe someday when sanity comes back and we don't have a quantitative easing where they're plowing $120 billion a month into the market of new money printed, or the ECB is not plowing 60 billion of euros into the market every month. I know when I say those numbers and I say it out loud, it's not like I see it talked about that much. No one really talks about it. When I probably say it, after a while, the people who have been listening, they know it. But the people that come to the webinar here that are new probably go, what is he talking about? QE. That's that thing the government did back in '08, right? And it still goes on every day. But since the media doesn't talk about it, people don't know about it. Hey, Douglas, how you doing? So, that is our, basically, we've heard strange stories over the weekend, again, by the spin machines about the dollar being devalued, and I just kind of laugh and go, huh? Another sip of the water there. So, that is where we're at the moment. Just marching along. All right, we'll look at it on the cable. Now, the cable has dipped down much lower than we expected. We don't really expect to see cable drift into the 135, 36 area, but it has of late. It's become tighter. You can see here, it's actually got a nice downwardly slope going on. For a long while, it traded in the 134s up to the 142s. You can see that all the way back to the beginning of last year. And now we are visiting the bottom end of the range. We'll see. You can see today it's trying to push into a daily sell, but you can see the weekly is very weak right now. And when we look at J4X and cable, I'm sure we're seeing the same type of action right there. We'll probably have a green hinky at this point even. We'll see. Yep, there we go. We got a green hinky. You can see the white line, the fast line, moving through the slow dashed line. So we're seeing a little upwardly pressure again. And that is the action we're seeing there. All right. Let's see. Douglas, do you have the desire to see anything in particular? It's a quiet morning. No worries. Be happy. No, I gave him a chance there. I was trying to take a sip of water again. Alright, so, there's a cable trying to lift up. We are starting to develop get into the daily buy. You can see it's right there with the green. Where's the red at? That was a sell, right? Yeah. Not up there, down here. And we are flirting now with the buy. We can take this green one just there. And maybe the weekly will try to turn up again. We went to the weekly sell again last week. This seems to vacillate back and forth. We had the same thing happen in the euro. So you go like that, and like that. There we go. And when we take a quick look at the euro again, there, it pushed itself into the sell again. So markets don't really have a clear direction at this point. They're just getting pushed back and forth from just the short-term action itself. There is no, in this case, in some of these products, there is no longer-term trend going on. We're seeing this, I don't know what to do, or it's, I don't care. That's literally it. Some of the what we refer to as the minor pairs do seem to have some continuity to them, but the major pairs, obviously, something's disturbed here, and I would imagine it's that inflation factor problem. The major pairs weren't expecting to see this inflation. Remember, back in here when I started talking about it, right here, Doc was saying over and over again, we're going to feel this in August and September, and sure enough, we are. It's confirming it. We knew it was going to confirm it. You don't just have inflation kick up for a couple months. But when you control the media, you can get away with that. You can actually say incredibly ridiculous things and make it sound like as if it's very authoritative and educated. Douglas says, Euro Swiss stock, please. All right, let's go see what that looks like. Euro Swiss. Did we just change that too? I think we stole that one. Did we steal that one for something else? I think we did. There's an hourly one. Let's see, where is it? There is that. That's that. Oh, there it is. Euro Swiss at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Boy, that's been rolling over for a while. So it's getting strong against the euro. Is it? I guess it's yes, because it's going down. So as it goes down, the euro is losing money against the Swiss, right? I'm interpreting that correctly. And you can see here, let's see, there was the weekly buy right there. Let's put that in. And let's take a look at what the weekly sell looked like. There we are. So we went to the weekly sell here up in the 109-ish 10 area, I guess, right? Yeah. Stayed in the weekly sell all the way down to the 107 area. Okay, and then we go into the we go into the buy again right there. Let's see how the dailies have done with that too. So there was a winner chicken dinner there, and there was a winner chicken dinner not there yet because it was had a week to go, but it jumped in here so you could be long throughout all that. And then now we're flirting with the weekly sell this week. We'll see how that goes. Put that little circly thing in there. Like that. Fix the color to gray. There we are. So we're flirting with a weekly sell now. And we've been in a daily sell since like right there. So that means that the euro is picking up strength against the, the Swiss is picking up strength against the euro. Which makes sense. I only thought the weakness we saw was because of the Chinese to begin with, when they were desperate for capital, you know. Oh, you can't see. I'm sorry. Glad you said that. Glad I looked over to it. There it is. So you can see here, we went into the sell right up in here, right there, and then it rolled all the way down, 3 big handles, and then it went into the buy right there. And the daily buy, boy, it protected you from that too at the bottom. It went into a daily buy at the bottom, and a week later it closed in the weekly buy. And now we're back to it again. Looks like the euro is going to lose, strength against the Swiss, right? That's how I'm reading that right, correct? All right, now we will look at the euro doing against the British pound. That goes back and forth. I think what is it? We keep that up on the chat line, the fact check spreadsheet. So it went into a weekly sell last week. Right there. So it closed in a weekly sell like 2 weeks ago, right there. Yeah, so it went into a sell there, then jumped into the buy from that. Wow, that's a loser chicken dinner, isn't it? Oh no, that's right. This is 3.5, so it didn't. And so it's a 3.5. So that's why the blue line is in there, blue dashed line. So it goes into the buy there, and it's still in the buy because the blue line's holding it up. So we're in a buy from there. Let's fix that on the chat line or the fact check spreadsheet. See, so you need all 3 of these with this because of the beta of it, like right here. See how all 3 of them are underneath? It goes into the cell right there. So let's put that there. Put that in right there. You need all 3 of those lines to be minus. Because of the beta of it. We decide if we need a 3.5 or just a 3 or a 5, through the beta of the product itself. The rate of change volatility. So it's still holding on by the hair of its chinny chin. So it's been just buys you take on this. So there was a buy right there. That was a win. There's another one right there. It was a win. You don't take the sells, of course. That one right there starts to get you into the minus. That's a loss. Takes away some of the do re mi you've made. And then there's a buy there. There's a small win. And then there's a buy right there. It's a decent little win. And then right there is a buy. And it's a small win again. Not big wins out of this whole thing. And this is what, GBP, this is Euro GBP, so that makes kind of some sense. You got to figure the two of them are bouncing back and forth against each other pretty well. That would make a lot of sense. Now, you see the blue line is trying to curl down. If it curls down, that's why the blue line is lit on this. So we can move that over. Okay, you can see that. Yeah, so you can see that right there. The blue line is still a plus. This thing gets minus, then it goes into the weekly sell, and maybe it'll, let's see what this thing looks like over the last X amount of time. Not many people ask about it, so we don't fill it in. But there was that last time we really paid attention to it, when it did a sell up in the 90s. It fell all the way down to, what was that, 85-ish. That was a long drive. So, and then it gave you a buy there. Lasted a couple weeks, and then they see both of them join in here. Now it's doing the oscillations, doing those crazy oscillations because it doesn't have a clear direction. I hope that helped out. Let's see, so that was it. You wanted Euro and Swiss and Euro and cable. All right, excellent. Robin will say this was the Douglas and Doc show. Let's see, that's about it there. And we'll see if this rolls over this week. And we'll go from there. And let's fix that on the fact check spreadsheet. What is it? It's still in the buy for X amount of weeks, really. What is it? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 weeks. That's better. All right. What else can we talk about here? We've just gone through those. Now we go over to Turkish lira. That's what it is. We jump to the Turkish lira. You see, it's battling with the top of its range. You know, and we've been watching that since that Bitcoin event that occurred in Turkey, where it exploded it up to here back in, when was that? March. So it's been playing with that dotted line thing for a long while now. You can see here it's the second day in a sell, but we're still in a weekly buy. So Turkish lira is kind of stalled out. Now we'll go take a look at that against the euro, where the euro is so much more insightful when looking at the Turkish lira. And it's also holding up, and look at that, it's strengthening even with it in a daily sell for a couple days here now. We'll see when that turns. If that turns and breaks through the line, maybe we're going to see a whole new range develop. Anything's possible with the Turkish lira. I mean, it's gone under the leadership of Erdogan from 1.5 all the way up to where are we at now? 10 and change. So, it's a sad inflationary characteristic as I take a sip of water again. Yeah, that's the unfortunate event. I'd imagine the more domestic production, the better, because at least they don't have to, spend, Turkish lira on, buying foreign goods. But, I guess the basics, like meat and bread and cheese and, then some other stuff. I hope they have a lot of domestic companies. It's a big country, so I would hope. I don't know how much they've moved away from capitalism to socialism and so forth, but I would hope that they produce a lot domestically to compensate for that 1.5 to 10 move in their currency. All right, and that's the action we see from that. Normally, due to the fact that they're showing a little strength in there against the dollar, or in this case, the Turkish lira too. I'm sorry, the Turkish lira against the euro too. We go over to the Canadian, and we expect to see the Canadian heading down, and it is. There it is. They seem to do that. It's kind of like a dollar thing, I think. And you can see we've been in the daily sell for 2 days there. It's the second day. But, and what is this? This is a 3.5. So, but I don't think we follow the 3.5 in this. I'm not sure why I have to turn it on. So fix that. Turn it off. I don't think we do that. We just follow the norm. I think I like watching the 3.5 to see if the beta shifted. That's why I have that on. So, we just, you can see here it's climbed back up into the weekly buy last week. That's line 20. Yeah. And so I'll put a green line in there. south. And normally we relate to the movement of the Canadian dollar against the dollar, US dollar, as kind of like an indication of gold, silver, and action in the oil market. So we would assume, what we usually do from here is we take a look at that, even with it in the daily sell for the last 2 days. We look at that and we go, okay, oil should be up a little bit, and what's the other one? Gold should be up a little bit, and let's put those two in there like so. There it is. So we take a quick look at that over the metals complex, and oh yeah, we've got to switch it down too. So we go like this. So look at crude oil to start off with. There is crude. You can see crude is up. That would make sense to us. These are the way the Canadian is moving, and you can see it here on ours also at the same time, both of ours. Our J4X and our Chicago Quant moving in the right direction. And in a weekly buy for going on a 5th week now. And going on a 3rd day of a daily buy. See here, this is lots of green on the hinky there, and we jump back up again today on the white over the fast white over the slow dashed. Then we slide over to gold. Oh, it's bouncing up a little bit from this morning. Interesting. We slid into a weekly sell last week, and we're in a daily sell. Going on the 2nd day, right there, and let's take a look at it over on J4X. Probably some red there. We're developing into a red. Let's see. Not yet. Hasn't started yet. It'll start in a few hours on the J4X. You can see the strength here on the short term. So it's this is going to be a little battle. It looks like. See how they play that out. And we'll see if it has any legs on it. I don't think the metals are going anywhere. They're kind of like trapped, like the major currency pairs. Trading in a range. That, who was it? Was it Max came in and said something like 1,550, something like that? We'll see. I mean, where are we at now? 1755. So that's a $200 drop. A little hard to believe we'd see $200 drop this time of the year. But anything's possible. I myself just think it's trapped in a range. I don't think they want to beat it up too much. I think it's a political thing, like usual. In other words, they don't really want to make it go down too much, but they want it to stay down. In other words, they want it to stay low. So I don't think that they're going to try to convince it to go to 1550 just because, the charts are aiming in that direction. Mine are not. But mine are just telling us right now that it's just going into a sell. When it stops is when the chart tells us it's stopped. In this case here, it's not showing it at the moment, so we're just assuming that it'll just be sliding sideways for a while. And again, I think it's a political thing. I really do. I don't think they could take it to 1550 as much as they would love to take it to 1550, solely because of the inflation. It would mess with the managers' heads, and I think they're already twisted. These money managers are following their financial manifesto that they incorporated with. So they're kind of, they're there and they're not there. They believe and they don't believe. It's kind of really a stuck situation. And they got customers. Remember, they're not always trading all their capital. They're trading other people's capital. So that makes it even harder. They can't, go out there and be so. They can't be like a Tudor Jones type of thing, which I understand. A lot of money's moved from Tudor. Paul has lost some do-re-mi from his. I think he's been short gold or long gold. I don't know, one or the other. Let's put it this way: he's been on the wrong side of it for a long while, and that has money pulling out, which is odd. Normally, when you're a money manager and a hedge fund, When you lose money after a while, they buy into you even more. They put more money into you, figuring that the curve will change. In this case here, I think it comes down to conveying your message and your ideas. And when you're not conveying them well, then they get a little nervous. They start to move away from you even more. That's why hedge fund people normally keep their mouths shut, don't talk. They like to just smile and say, "Look at our return." All right, from there, we go back to the currencies, and we're going to go over. Is that here? Oh. That's me. Okay. I heard something out there. Wasn't sure what that was. All right, let's go back to the South African Rand now. Where's it at? Right there. Just saw it. Blew by my eyes. There it is. There's the South African Rand. Jump over to J4X. Slide that in. It's right here somewhere. There it is. And you see here South African Rand moving down, which it should be doing with gold holding firm, and or sideways, and oil moving up. That's kind of like the way we usually try to interpret it. It has made a nice move up. We went into that buy there last week. A little disappointed. That plays into Max's opinion that it could go to 1550. You start to see that strength in the in it, and you start to go, uh-oh, you know, there might be more problems ahead. There we are. So South African Rand showing a little strength in there and popping up even more there. All right, but the daily at least is showing us a sideways action for the moment. Now we drift over to, well, it's down obviously in the daily sell for going on a second day. Now we drift over to the ruble right there. Again, trapped, quiet, and a weekly sell for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and flirting with the weekly buy this week. Okay, cool. That's the first I noticed that. Right there. At the same time, we are still in the daily sell for the last couple days, or I guess yesterday. I went to the sell there yesterday. What's it say on fact check spreadsheet? Yeah, 1 day in a sell, now going on a second day in a sell. Exactly. Okay. But it isn't really going anywhere particular, especially with that weekly trying to develop some strength. We'll see how long that lasts. All right. Let's see. Just take a quick look on J4X and see what it looks like there. Is trying to move down. That's cool. And we got some greens there on the hinky, so pressure and then twisting of the fast and slow going the opposite way. Not a lot of direction there. All right, and from there we slide over to the yen. Yen right there. Moving down. And you see it on this fact check spreadsheet on line 19. 1 day in a sell and 3 weeks in a buy. Markets that are pretty much battling with themselves. Not a lot of conviction at all. Not a lot at all. So you see it went into the buy down in here on the weekly. And they're just doing a little testing here on the daily right now. Let's see, where's it at? I guess it's this mouse and stuff. I want to put the line in there. There we are. And we'll see how that plays out over the next couple days. I'd imagine the weekly will take over and it'll start to move back up again. At this point, the majors, like I said, are really trapped in ranges. They don't seem to. I can say this about the yen. The yen against the dollar does seem to, hang out in a and see, like a range, like, the same thing, but not anything particular. So at this point, we'll see how long this lasts up in here. If it starts to stall out, that weekly does have me a little surprised where it's taken. It didn't, the daily sell went in here, or the weekly sell went in here. It really didn't go down much. I have to assume, and I say this a lot, I have to assume a lot of this change of the range, or this more tightness of the range, or extensions through the range, however you want to describe them, I would assume is the inflation thing. There are money managers that had chosen to, just go along with the program, whatever the QE central banks say they go with. Just leave it at that. There's not much of a reason. Don't fight the Fed. That's pretty much been a mantra since it was created in 1913. Don't fight the Fed. You fight it, it will burn you. So this could be three peaks in a dome. Kind of reminds me of that to some extent, where it came. This is the dome itself. That was the last peak of the three peaks, and then it developed the dome here. It has a dome look to it, and then the dome is supposed to take out the top here and then come back and challenge that 109 area. What was that? 108 and 3/4 area, that type of thing. Challenge these lows in there of the dome, and could go as low as the 107s. Now it's an old pattern that not many people talk about. The three peaks in the dome. It's a go-to when you start to see a plateau develop in a product. All right, let's see, that was what, the yen, right? So we go from there to the Mexican peso. Let's see what the Mexican peso looks like. There it is. And the peso is going after the high here and taking that out and or at least it's playing with it, that's for sure. Didn't we put a circle in there? I thought we did on Friday. We put a circle in there, Thursday. So where's that black circle? Let's get that going again. And so that's the action we're seeing there. See how it, if it's going to stall out in that top end of the range. Due to the fact that the weekly, went into a weekly last week, it's starting to doubt a little bit. Maybe this one takes us a little bit higher than the norm. Maybe that's what it is. Again, the inflation factor can change the ranges a lot. Money has to follow their financial manifesto of incorporation. So that has to be followed. So if there's a warning in there that they've written, which most of them do, about inflation, then they're out there buying a few more ounces of gold, and they're buying more tips. Tips are bonds that are inflation hedged, because they get their return gets adjusted to the inflation point, inflation index of the Fed, and so that so you buy a bond, but your interest rate is set X amount over inflation, not over the normal 1.5 or 1 3/4. It gets set to the inflation factor itself, 2% over or 3% over inflation. 1.5, however they're doing tips now. That type of thing. All right. Let's see. So what is that? That is the Mexican peso. Let's just take a quick look at it on the J4X. Let's see how it's matching up. Just confirming that it does. Right there. Doing the same thing, moving up. You can see that there. Probably have a couple green hinkies at this point too. Oh yeah. Look at that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Working on a 7th. It's following the Chicago quant just right. All right. Now let's see. That is what I usually do. Is I end there in the currency pairs. Remember, traders, if you want to see something in the currencies, as I'm dancing around in the metals and the energies, or the stock indices, we can gladly go do that. So there's no problem there. But now we'll drift over to the metals complex and get a little flavor of what's going on again in the metals complex. Let's see, which mouse is that? It's this one right right there. And we'll put that in here. And there's gold. And as you can see, you know, gold is moving up a little bit on the J4X. But over here on the, let's just give it a refresh. Where's that mouse at? The Mises. You reload. Day. And it's, you know, it's lost the red dot, but it's still below. And what happened there? We had a red dot and went into a sell on Friday a few seconds ago. I'll have to go check that data. I'll double check that, find out why that changed the price there by just one. And we went into the weekly sell there. So as far as we're concerned, there is, you know, this product is, well, it was it was in a sell this right there, and we didn't have a green dot. We had a red dot right there a few seconds ago until we refreshed it. And we're in a weekly for sure, because it didn't change there. And we'll see how that all plays out in the end. Looks like they changed a few things, the high and so forth, when I hit the refresh. We'll go back and double check it. I have a new way of finding out if it's right or wrong. So I always had an old way to do it, but I just didn't do it, so I just go back to doing it nowadays. It's gotten very strange here. These clearinghouses seem to want to change prices. It's like magical trades appear 1, 2, 3 days later out of nowhere. Volumes increase or decrease. Open interest shift over a couple day period out of nowhere. Back 3 days, all of a sudden the open interest is readjusted. It's very weird. This is the Blackpool era. The Blackpool era of stocks and commodities. And the CFTC and the Securities Exchange Commission condone it all now. So, all right, silver. Let's go to silver and see how she's doing. That is showing the buyers, but still in a weekly sell for what now? Was it 21 weeks? That's line 8 or 9? Which one is it? 9. 21 weeks now in a weekly sell. 21 weeks. Every time we think this thing's going to find a way to get back into a buy, it just fails at it, which was really disappointing. You know, there's a lot of silver traders out there saying, I'll tell you, I'm so oblivious of it that I was still convinced it was $26. So every time I go to adjust this thing when I see a problem, I'm like, wait a minute, why is it down at 22? You know, the fact that it just keeps on drifting lower in that weekly sell, that's what it really comes down to. It just refuses to show life. Every time we get into a buy of some form, it just chokes itself. Ever since this plateau, it's just driven itself back down, you know, just back down again. And, you know, it is disturbing because there's a lot of silver traders. And matter of fact, I think if, you know, when it comes to commodities overall on the metals complex, people follow silver and gold a lot, and then they follow, you know, like the grains, and, you know, like soybeans, wheat, and corn, and hogs, and cattle, and feeders. But really, you know, crude oil and silver and gold are probably like our most popular charts that are watched. And, you know, it's a focus for a lot of people. Like, they watch the euro, they watch GBP, you know, and they watch, you know, the Swiss and yen, and then they're also, probably silver could be the most watched of all our charts, which is amazing. And in gold, like, we have people who follow stock indices and so forth and products, and they're following silver. And we have people who are following April cattle, or, you know, and March wheat, and or March corn, and they're watching silver. It's like, wow. I mean, you know, people watch the metals complex and they watch silver. Silver is very popular to watch. Hence probably why the central banks keep on knocking the poor thing down. You know? So, anyway, that's where we stand. Let's just take a quick look at it on J4X. Right there. It's trying to lift. You know, we're in a daily buy for 2 days. You can see J4X doing the same thing, showing that strength. Where's the lines at? Let's find the lines. I don't see the lines in there. Yeah, doing the same thing for the last Friday and Monday. And we went into the buy on Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday. I'm sorry, Thursday. So we're going on a third day. And you know, it's like hope is eternal. You know, hoping that one day this product will get back into a weekly buy. We've seen it flirt with it. You can see it right there. It flirted with it that week off of a couple weeks of strength. And you know, the product had gone from the 23s to the 20, almost 25. I mean, just 24.94. So it went up like $1.50, and we were flirting with the weekly buy that next week, and then all of a sudden it was choke city, daily sell, dropped. Tried to get into a buy a few days, but we were still in that sell, so you couldn't take the buy, and then ouch, smack-a-doodle. They crushed it. S&P 500, ETF, and EWZ. Sure, we can do all three of those. All right, let's see, where's that at? First one, S&P 500 futures. Here it is right there. You know, we're down a little bit today, nothing major. We're in a daily sell since up in here. And we closed again in a weekly sell. Let's see how, look at this. Weekly sell, weekly buy, weekly sell. You know, it's been chopped back and forth. And let me just throw this in there too. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This went into the weekly sell back here, and you know, it did push down very well. All the other products did too, but they vacillated. And then you can see here, this week we were already flirting with a weekly buy, again like we were last week. All right, now, just wanted to show you how the Dow is doing there. And then let's take a look at the ETF, so that'd be the SPY. Open sesame. SPY, right there. I think it's here. No, we don't have it there, so we'll close. We'll do the ETF for you, the EWZ. Let's go find the EWZ. Right there. And EWZ went into a weekly sell last week. I guess, maybe? No. It's been in a weekly sell. These are just old ones we pushed to the side. It's been in a weekly sell since here. Since, what's that, July? Since the end of June, we've been in a weekly sell since the 40-ish area, 41 area, something like that. And the product has drifted to the 32-ish area. Wow, $8 drop. Almost a $10 drop. What did I say, 42? Let me go back there. Where's that? Yeah, that week it was in the 42s, 41. So say 41, we'll flatten it out there. So 41 to 32. It's a big drop. And this morning, is it updated? Yeah, it's updated right now. So you can see it's not helping itself any. It's still showing some pressure in the daily sell since here. And it hasn't done, it's been very bad. You know, it hasn't been a winner, that's for sure. So, you know, it's in a weekly sell, and here is your daily sell. It's bounced off of it half a dozen, 2 or 3 times. And then it gave that gap on Friday. And then now it's trading back down again. And a volatility signal at the same time. Okay, that resolves that. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry about that. Where's that mouse? The Mises. The Mises piece. Oh. Now we just blew it up altogether. Hey, hey. Yep, can't see. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yep, Robin's backing me up with you, Douglas. You both of you are doing it. Good. So you can see here, let's see, let's do that again now. Where's that mouse at? So I guess I can get rid of that since we're already in it. There we are. And so you can see here, we've been in, that EWZ's been in there for a while, since right here, since the 41-ish area, 42-ish area. That week, it went into the sell there on that week, and it's just been gliding down. Matter of fact, that's kind of interesting, the fact that it's fighting now. Let's see how the dailies did. Let's just do a little analyzation of the dailies. Since you asked, why not? let's see. So it went into the sell. There was your first daily sell, so that turned into a winner. The second, then it covered here. Let's see, there's your second sell, another nice winner. Let's see, here's your third sell. Not good. Gave up the ghost. Well, actually, it probably made money because it went into the sell there. Where'd it go? It went into the sell here, and it was like a break-even thing there. And then it went into a sell here. It glided down for a couple days. Actually, it went into a sell and never seemed to want to come back. It tried there and failed, and it didn't cover until here. So you had opportunities all the way down to there to make do re mi. Then here's another sell, which is, notice it lags. Isn't that interesting how it lags a lot? You know, it gets into a sell, kind of goes the wrong way for a day or two sometimes. Sometimes it gives it to you instantly, and then sometimes it hesitates for 3 days. And then the break gives you that. Matter of fact, it stayed in the sell there all the way down to here. So from there all the way down to here. And, you know, buy tells you it's trying to move up. And then we go into a sell here, and you can see it's doing that same thing, and now we're flirting with it today, trying to get back down to where it pushed it into the sell, which is right there in the low 32s, right? 32.13, and it's been up into the 33s, and now it's at 32.51. So that's going to be interesting. I hope that satisfies that. Now let's go find the S&P 500 ETF. I imagine you wanted to see that too, right? So, oh no, it was ETF EWZ. That's what it was. So it was just a two. So it was the S&P 500 futures and the ETF EWZ. I see. Okay. So that shows you the action there with the EWZ. EWZ is interesting. Boy, what a good option binary product that is, because I'll tell you, you get into a sell, and sooner or later it gives you some good wins out of it. It's kind of like kind of stretches itself out. We've seen products do that over the decades with our math. Some products like to do that. It's kind of odd. It doesn't start. Sometimes it gives you instant gratification, and sometimes it likes to do it like take 2 or 3 days, and then it gives it to you, and it stays in the sell. We've talked about this before, where we have products we follow that will go into a sell, go the wrong way for a couple days, refuse to get you out of it. Right? It's telling you no. Only your money management gets you out of it when you're trading the hard delta itself. But if you're trading the options, you're like sitting there going, okay, let's see what happens. And then all of a sudden, slam, it does it. And sometimes it's almost like the R.N. Elliott corrective wave, the ABC. It throws you into it, gives you the B on the wrong end of it. In other words, you know, it goes up when it's supposed to go down, or it goes down when it's supposed to go up. But it refuses to change, and then it gives you a hard C, and you go like, that's that classic of where people go, I knew it was going down, I was short, I got stopped out, I got margined, and then it went there anyway. And sometimes that's how it does it. In general, in trading, you get these Elliott wave corrective waves, the ABCs, try to shake you out, and then smack a doodle. It hits you. And it doesn't let go. And that's kind of interesting, it is, that you see that characteristic that occurs like that. So, that is what it is with the EWZ. All right, now let's see, where else are we at? Oh yes, let's take a look at the Nasdaq 100. Because we are heading towards the end of the webinar here, and we have a few more stock indices we could look at. Now in this case here, the product has been in a weekly buy forever. All the way back into June, it was in the weekly buy from the 14,000 area. And it went into the weekly buy and just refused to give us major corrections whatsoever, and made it to 15, up into the 15, almost 700 area, a little underneath that. And now we haven't been able to get into the weekly sell until last week, which is curious. And that's why I kind of watched the 5. I have the super in here, but we don't follow the 5 with it. We just follow it. But in this case here, it has pushed all of it into the sell. So we'll see how this week's Tech 100, I'll show you to you on Dukascopy. See if, because these particular stocks, which are now the major stocks on the planet, and they're even in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, even with them being Nasdaq stocks, not New York Stock Exchange stocks. They are more interest sensitive than the other products. Right there, there's the Tech 100. That's what we're talking about. And so when you see inflation and you see interest rates rising, that does shake up these investors, because they're very capital intensive, which means they have to borrow capital all the time to keep functioning. And then their supply chain cash shows up, and everything is fine. Remember all those decades where Amazon just refused to, and Amazon is one of those, which is not in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but you have you have Apple Computers in there, you have Microsoft is in there, you have Intel in there. These are all Nasdaq stocks, not New York Stock Exchange stocks. And remember, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was a Nasdaq, it was a New York Stock Exchange marketing tool, to transport the utilities in the Dow. We're all New York stocks, but now they've moved these indices to be more of a global thing. So you have those three. You have, I think it's Shopify is in there instead of Amazon. Let me think, what else is in there? Amgen, the pharmaceutical. It's another Nasdaq stock. That's 5. The networking system one, Cisco Systems, that's 6. I think that's it. I think it's a 6. Those 6 are in there. And so, that's a lot to be said about it. So Google's not in there, Amazon's not in there, but their sector is in there in a sense. So, all right. Looks like we're at the end here, traders. So we will catch you tomorrow, same time, same channel. And so Doc is saying, happy trails to you until we meet again, which will be Tuesday. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Ta-ta for now, traders.